Welcome to the Soccer Benchmark. This is Coach Charles. The Premier League weekend was just fantastic. I think we were all waiting for this, and it didn't disappoint. The league this weekend did not disappoint. The games on Saturdays and Sunday, I think we got value for money, and the wait was worth it because what we saw over the weekend, I think will never be seen again. A team like Manchester City, my friend, how could you lose 4-0 at the Etihad? City have never lost that big, leave alone at the Etihad easily. They rarely lose at the Etihad, but it's like Spurs is a boogie team when it comes to Manchester City. They just enjoy playing City. They just like messing them around. They just like moving them around, running them ragged. So you can imagine if Son Heung-min was scoring the way he's been scoring over the years. I think they will have beaten these guys so many goals. Pep Guardiola was lost. He didn't even know what was happening. Erling Haaland is missing sitters. Basically, the first few minutes, Haaland had two chances to score, but he did not take them. And that is exactly what bites teams. When you don't take your chances and the opponent scores, now you're under pressure to score. And that is what happened against Manchester City. Tottenham just knew they had to get that first goal. And Lord, it was a beautiful goal. Well constructed team goal, uh, press, pressure, everything was involved in that goal. And when Madison put it in, I think City knew they were in for it. Running in behind the defenders, he just had basically a tap in, and the keeper didn't even move a muscle. And the second one was even a much beautiful game. That chip over the keeper just didn't know what was happening. And that pass from Son was just heavenly. And it fell on the right player who has technique, who has vision, style. You know, this is a goal scorer who's I think uh, season has not been really panning out so well, but God, that was a beautiful goal. After that, City were just chasing shadows. They tried to press, counter press. They pushed Tottenham all the way, but Vicario was inspired. I've never seen a keeper have so many saves in a game against Manchester City. He saved after save after save. City could not break this guy down. They could not go past this guy. In fact, there are saves that he made that they were wild saves because you're wondering how did that not go in? Huh? So Pep Guardiola was later asked. So he keeps giving us this idea that he signed because he saw a problem and he wants to solve it. I thought he was going to solve it against Spurs. Most pundits gave Spurs a zero chance of winning. But look at what happened. Personally, I think I was not so sure about this game, but I knew there are going to be goals. Yeah? And that is exactly what happened. Spurs just ran City ragged, and that is a good result for Liverpool. Because on Sunday, Liverpool also did what Liverpool does. They were behind, they scored, went behind, recovered, and won the game. And that is how you win the league. Ugly. Make sure you win whatever happens. And Liverpool are currently running away with this thing. 8 points ahead. We can't say it's the end of the title race, but the next game is Liverpool against Manchester City. If Liverpool wins that game, they'll be what? 11 points ahead of Manchester City. I think we will basically say this is a Liverpool season. But wait, Arsenal are coming back. The result against Nottingham Forest was a beauty. Arsenal did so well. I think the return of Odegaard just made things easier. And Ateta finally decided to rotate his midfield. Declan Rice was on the bench. Partey was on the bench. You know, Havertz was on the bench. He brought in a different set of legs, a different set of problems to Nottingham, and they could not cope with it. I think Odegaard and Saka just are world-class players. When they play together, these two just makes football so lovely. You know, you watch a game and you wonder, wow, how do they do that? They constantly rotate the ball, they constantly circulate the ball, they constantly keep the ball, pass the ball, shoot. You know, when they get chances, Saka scores beautiful game. And then there's this gem of a player called Nweri. Where did this boy come from? You know, he made the game, in fact, comfortable for Arsenal when he came in. And yes, that is a pressure. Now, Manchester City are 1 point ahead of Arsenal. and Arsenal have an easier game over the weekend compared to Manchester City. So meaning, by the end of the week, yeah, City may be number 3 or even 4 because Chelsea are basically right behind them. And Chelsea did as a very, very, very boring game over the weekend. But what did they do? They won. And that is what keeps teams up in the table. They played a boring game. In fact, the first half was they scored early, but then what happened? They just bored everyone to death. In fact, it was they almost drew that game at the end because they could not take chances, they could not make chances. Cole Palmer is half the man we know, he's half the player we know because his performance was below par. I think in that game, Cole Palmer was nowhere. He was basically a passenger. Uh, but Jackson is proving the pundits wrong. He's proving everyone wrong. That first goal was a beauty. How he took it, how he controlled it, and how he tapped it in. That was beautiful. So we are looking at a league that is really tight at the top. Really, really tight. Because if Chelsea wins, Arsenal wins, Manchester City may end up being position 4 in the league. And that means that teams like Villa, teams like that are the chasing pack, the Brightons, are closing nearer and nearer. And the level of the league has really, really gone up. There is no small team anymore. The other day, Ipswich beat Tottenham. Tottenham has beaten Man City. And the same Ipswich just had the audacity to draw with Manchester United on Sunday. They just outplayed Manchester United. Basically, Manchester United, that new formation is still crazy for players. And I still believe that Rashford is not playing for the team. He's not a team player. After scoring in the early minutes, 80 seconds in the game, he just disappeared basically. The guy had what? Less than 10 touches. The passes, less than what? 7 passes. This guy has not improved in whatever way. He was played up top as a number 9 for Manchester United, behind Bruno and Garnacho. And he did not do much. Basically, I didn't see what Rashford did after he scored. He was just a passenger in the game. I think his body language, there are passes that he was given a through pass, he was not even ready. He was flat-footed, basically. And this is a new coach. So it means that it is not the coaches that are problem. It is Rashford that has the problem. So what to do with a player like Rashford? So the Manchester analysis will come later in its own segment. Another game that was really interesting is the Palace against Villa. That is Villa hosting Palace. Goal, 2-2. Villa had to fight, had to scrap, had to look for every other opportunity to score. They had to get a point out of this game. They almost lost this game. But in the end, they drew this game. 2-2 was a very, very interesting score. Considering that Palace has really struggling, their season has not been so nice. So I think this league is in the coming, until January, I think there'll be a lot of changes at the top of the table. There'll be a lot of changes in mid-tables, and the relegation bound team, I think they're in trouble. Look at what happened between Fulham and Wolves. Everyone expected Fulham to win, but Wolves just did what Wolves do. They bite you when you don't take care of them. They bite you seriously. And Cunha was on fire. I think this guy is a revelation for Wolves. They're doing a good job. The coach is, in fact, if you look at their next 5 games, they really have a good fixture. If they really continue in this vein, I think Wolves should be getting out of that relegation zone very, very soon. Another game that was also interesting was the Bournemouth Brighton. Brighton, this young coach is really making it interesting. His evolution, his revolution, his inventions, innovations. He's doing everything that football fans will want to see in a coach because he's making it look so interesting. And the boys really are buying into what he's doing. And he welcomed João Pedro with open arms because João Pedro just made the difference, man. This guy, he came from injury and he's scoring, he's assisting. This is a player that I think will push Brighton to the next level because he's always been consistent when he plays. Welbeck has been doing a good job, but I think now with João coming in, it's going to be very, 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 very interesting. I think Brighton will be strong. Brighton will be convinced that they can achieve much, much more in this league. Everton refuses to lose games. They keep drawing games after games. I knew Brentford is they're poor travelers. In fact, in my preview show, I mentioned this, and I tipped Everton to get a draw or win, and that is exactly what happened. So it is a team that knows that they need to get points. They need to get points, however that point comes, and that is exactly what happened. Their next match is against Manchester United at Old Trafford. And Ruben Amorim's first league game at OT will be interesting because of the new shape that he's trying to implement. God, that shape is crazy difficult for some of our players, but we'll see. We'll see. That is what the weekend looks like. If you go at the table now, Manchester City are second, 8 points behind Liverpool. Chelsea are right behind them, a point behind. Arsenal are a point behind. Brighton are a point behind. So what are we talking about? At the end of the coming weekend, City may be sixth in the league, or even fifth. Uh, they'll be fifth in the league because these guys have easier fixtures. They have winnable fixtures, and Guardiola team is ravaged by injuries. The injuries that affected Ten Hag's season last season, and they are just moved from the red side of Manchester to the blue side of Manchester, which personally I don't care because that is what happens in football. When you are up, enjoy. When the injuries come, that is the time when you know it is going to be hard. So United, in fact, moved one place to 12th even before kicking a ball. But that is a game that the Ipswich game that was supposed to be a 3 pointer game because I don't know why we lost that game. However, the battle at the bottom is what is gonna keep everyone guessing. Because Ipswich, Crystal Palace, Southampton, these guys are down there. In fact, Southampton are in trouble. I am tipping Russell Martin to be sacked, the next coach to be sacked. After the game this coming weekend, if he doesn't win that game, mm-hmm, mm-hmm, I see him following the Leicester coach, who has also been dismissed. So you have to win in the Premier League. You gotta win. If you don't win, you lose your job. Ask Ten Hag. Huh? Ask the Leicester coach, Steve Cooper. He's also been dismissed. So my money is on the Southampton coach. Either way, this brother has gotta take care because if he doesn't, he's gonna bite the dust. Thank you for watching. Consider subscribing to this channel. We are building it day by day, and there's a lot of content that we are building up. There are a lot of changes that we are making, structural and content-wise, and that will come with time. So let's keep playing football the Premier League style.